Today we are here with none other than Patrick Fitz, a good friend of mine, large source of inspiration, gentleman who likes to kick my behind on the regular as a monkey that wears no pants. Can you tell us about why Diddy Kong wears no pants?
Because he's not required to, man. He's not a by the books kind of guy. He just doesn't abide by our rules, much like a lot of us.
Hey, the parallels are true here. This is very spot on. So we both play Super Smash and we both like to spin 3-poi. Coincidence? I think not. We like things coming at us very fast. We like to juggle, whether it's parrying, teching off the stage, options out of shield, or trying to learn Seb's mess. I find them to be very similar. What are some of the similarities you have between Super Smash and 3-poi, Patrick?
It's funny. Me and my brother were talking about this the other day, and
really,
yeah, because he was like, I was expressing frustrations from people not wanting to get better at the game, just kind of wanting to have fun with the game and not really trying to progress so much with the game. But Sky, my brother, had countered me on that and said, well, I really don't know a whole lot of people. And by that, I mean, you are the only person that I really know that kind of has the approach on things that when you really get into a hobby or a passion or whatever you're doing, you really obsess about it. And it just kind of involves a big part of your life. And I think there's just some kind of deep-seated dislike for when I do things badly. And it's not like other people don't have this mindset, but it really, really gets to me. Not because so much of a competitive aspect as more of an issue it is with myself and just feeling like I could have done better and knowing that I could have done better. So I think I get really obsessed with improving at the things that I really enjoy. And I think that's kind of why I've stuck with Poi for so long. It's been a more love relationship than hate, but it is a love-hate. It is.
Oh yeah, there's 3 traits of 100 millionaires and billionaires. One of them is they always have this strong, deep-seated sense of incompetency and running away from failure as hard as they can. And this is proven with studies with rats, where if you put a piece of cheese in front of them and you attach their tail to a string, they pull with 100 Newton centimeters of force to get towards it. So they're chasing an incentive. But if you put a cat behind them, a predator, they pull with 10 times the force to get away. So we all need to have a balance of things we're running from, negativity we're avoiding, and goals that we're reaching for. Right. And so for both of us, it's to, maybe die a nobody, or to never learn that pattern, or never get to perform in front of our peers. We don't want to have that sadness. So rather than running towards the good, which is, the hug you get from a lover when you did a good job, we're running away from being mundane and being a nobody. At least that's how I feel about it. That's Alex Hermosi has a really interesting take on that. And then Chris Williamson talks about the traits of high achieving people. And I've just been like, whoa, really high achieving people are never satisfied. They're always running away from something dark behind them.
Yeah, I don't feel like satisfaction. I don't know. It's really interesting because sometimes I have moments where I'm very proud of myself and I'm very satisfied, but it's always met with what's next. And so it's a perpetual, it's an ongoing issue, because I always say these things of oh, well, once I learn this pattern, I'll not fucking feel like this anymore. But then I learn that pattern and then I feel the same way about the next one. So it's just really hard to say.
Same. I relate to that. Yep. So let's talk about the ways that we practice. You and I have some similarities and some differences, and I think listeners can pick and choose strategies to enhance their practice game, maybe 10% this year. The first subtopic under the umbrella topic of just practice, because you put in work, dude. We all see you putting in work. It's ridiculous. I do. I like to flow at the gym where I'm around other people. I would much rather flow in a more private space, but I just don't have that. And you have a really nice dojo space. My mentality is it's close to my house. It's right by the grocery store. There's a sauna. There's a racquetball room. There's a room with mirrors. So while it is awkward to spin in front of other people, I find that the convenience outweighs my emotion in those senses. But I'm not as good as you. So I'm maybe I should take a page out of Patrick's book. Tell us about your physical venue that you practice in.
Well, I could not perform or practice. Really practice is the thing. I couldn't practice in front of muggles It's just so, I can't explain the level of uncomfortability that I get. And just, I mean, on a topic that a little bit relates, I am a chronic marijuana user when I'm juggling or practicing poi, right? So I don't really, aside from that time when I'm juggling or practicing or whatever I'm doing with poi, I don't really smoke that much. But when it's just something that I do. It's a part of my routine. It's a part of the way that I train or try to be creative. So whatever, it's a big part of my life, and in that way. But with that being said, it does increase my level of anxiety, and especially in public places, like for sure in public places. So when I'm really high, I need to be like focusing on what I'm doing, and trying to be creative, whatever. When I have other things that are blocking or distorting or clouding my mind, I cannot reach that level of creativity. That's what it boils down to, is I can't actually hit like a flow state around people that don't know what the fuck I'm doing. It's just such a weird feeling for me. I can't do it, man.
I have that same problem where I get really, it's almost like I'm watching myself in third person. Oh, and by the way, I absolutely love to smoke cannabis. Usually just smoke a half a pre-roll on my way there, finish it in the parking lot, and I'm like, let's go. I was watching Joe Rogan the other day, and he says, it's one of those shorter clips, he's like, yeah, cannabis, contrary to popular belief, actually greatly narrows your focus. It really increases your focus towards a specific thing. The problem is it doesn't have a good filter, so you cannot always choose what to focus on. So if you go into it with anxiety, it's actually going to increase your focus on that anxiety.
Yes.
Right? So what you do is you eliminate the need for anxiety by going to a practice venue where there's nobody looking at you. So your focus has nothing else to focus on but the practice.
Yeah.
I just don't have that.
Well, and I get that. I used to go to the park a lot, but I would have to find exclusive parks, and like obviously it's weather dependent as well, but I'd have to find exclusive parks at certain times of the day that weren't trafficked, because I legitimately do not enjoy other people being around me. When I'm practicing is a different story from when I'm performing. I can perform for anybody. I can perform for I don't have any problem doing that. But as far as looking like an idiot trying this trick that I'm dropping a million times in a row and just I just can't deal with it. It's just so weird for me. It's a very strange and overwhelming feeling that I cannot get over.
So like one of the benefits of, or one of the like components of lifting weights is lifting to failure, right? So going until you literally can't lift anymore. That looks cool usually. Like if you're benching and your buddy helps you get that last rep and it's like, yeah, you get high five. No one does that when you're juggling. Like you just drop it and have to pick it up awkwardly. So like you are juggling to failure. You are lifting to failure, but it's not as cool looking. And so when I'm learning Seb's mess, I usually have about 100 attempts, I would say, in a given hour session. And usually people glance at me and it takes me out of my zone. And I'm like, God damn it. I really wish this door, it's like a whole glass panel so everyone can look in from the workout floor. And I'm like this fishbowl feeling. Like people are like, why does this guy keep trying? He keeps dropping. Why doesn't he just do the version of it where he doesn't drop? And all these thoughts are going through my head. And eventually I've just gotten to the point, I've done it every day for, at least 6 months now, where I'm like, I just don't care. I purposely wear really frumpy sweatpants, the dirtiest shoes, like goofy shirts, like hair disheveled. I always brush my teeth and I always keep everything looking good, but I'm just like, I don't dress to impress when I go there, so that I'm already a schlub.
I don't want to jump around topics too much, but this does directly relate and they very precisely correlate for me personally. So we were going to talk about the recording anxiety or the red light anxiety, right? And I feel like it's the same thing. It's the same thing for me practicing in front of people, the same as it is like me trying to record myself in my mind. It gives me the same type of anxiety where I feel like I have to do things that I'm confident in and not do things that I'm not confident in. But that's what practice is for. That's what training is for, right?
Yeah, red light anxiety and the anxiety of other people watching. For me, like the camera anxiety is less because I can just like pause it and delete it or whatever. But with people, I always drop right when the hot chick walks by and I'm like, she's never going to want to talk to me. It's like so stupid. I was never going to talk to her anyway. But it's like, well, at least I've gotten that out of the way. So now it's like I already botched it with all these people who saw me drop. Who cares? I'll just keep going until I get it.
I really respect that mindset, and what you're saying is true. It's hard for me to apply that and actually feel that way, because it's like knowing it to be true and then letting your feelings and anxiety control or not control you is a completely different thing.
Oh, here's a good example, right? So paddleboard surfing, especially in cold water. When I go paddleboard surfing, there's one amazing thing that can happen, which is that I don't get wet at all. I just start on my knees and I make it out through the break, and I get out there and I catch every wave and I never fall, and then I paddle back in and I step off the board onto the sand and I'm dry. That's amazing. Or you can have the situation where you fall in and you get soaked and the water's cold and then you're cold. So what I was doing for a while is I would go out into the water and I would just get to where it's like 20 feet deep or whatever, and I would just jump in to just get soaked. And I'm like, okay, I was in control of it. I'm not scared, because if I fall in, I'm already wet. No big deal. And I'm a little cold, but no big deal. Especially when we're surfing in like February in Florida.
I think we operate. I'm not saying you don't have this struggle or this like anxiety, because I can't say that for sure. But for me, with a physical, like a purely physical such as that, like I've done cold swims before, but I know how to regulate my body temperature. I've done through I've done cold weather training and cold water training and all that kind of stuff. So I'm familiar with getting my breathing under control, but getting my mind under control, it's a much harder thing to do. I can't block out that. It's just it just is not productive for me to be practicing in front of groups of people or a public setting. It's not productive.
Gotta respect a person who knows themselves, right? So never try to convince anyone of use my technique. But once you give them a conversation, which sometimes feels like a debate or something, a little bit of, it's like, no, I want to hold space and give an opportunity for you to articulate to yourself, like what your boundaries are, so that you can optimally operate within them. And then you can feel good about and confident about your practice regimen.
Yeah.
So yeah, we both agree it is optimal to practice solo, like when there's not a bunch of people bugging you. The only people who ever approach me, I've had like 2 women approach me, I think, but it's usually sweaty dudes, and they're like, "Oh, what is that? Are those weighted?" And I always just throw the pole at them and be like, "You tell me." It's not optimal. I would much
makes
rather
my muscles big.
If only. Okay, so private versus public, gym versus dojo. We both represent a spectrum, right? Where you could do it in a public place and have to deal with that anxiety literally the whole time. Or you could do it in a private space, which is much more optimal. We both agree.
Yeah.
One of the ways, the second topic, one of the ways that I tune people out is with music. Just throw the AirPods in, throw on some of the Trees, throw on some like Rusko or some kind of like music that really takes a lot of your attention. Chris Webby, like hip hop, rap, EDM, like, to me, I'll time my juggling practice when like the beat drops. So I'll start the pattern right then. So I have like a tangible time to start it. Sometimes I go without music when I just need to sort of meditate. Sometimes I'll put on a podcast. But for the most part, it's like pretty banging music to keep my heart rate up, keep my energy up. Like how does music play a role in your practice?
So I've gone through phases. Because I've been doing this for a long time. So I used to have a playlist of like bangers or like just more chill music at times. But where I'm at now, I don't even want to be distracted by lyrics at all. Because again, this goes back to not being able to necessarily control where your focus is directed. If there's lyrics that make me think about things, it distracts me. So I very much prefer to have music that is purely instrumental and not distracting me, not overwhelming me too much, my mind too much. So I like a lot of instrumental things at varying tempos and paces and whatnot, but I prefer there to be no lyrics.
Yeah, totally agree. I call it like sacred bass, Drum Spider, Kalia Scintilla, Kaminanda, some of those, nice deep bass sounds with sort of Eastern sounding drums. Maybe like a sitar or a violin or something.
And my brother says that I listen to fucking elevator music. I'm like, bro, fuck off. Like, just because I'm not listening to someone being murdered on stage with your brutal ass death metal, trying to fucking spin some poi doesn't mean I'm listening to elevator music.
Dude, like for some reason, people use elevator music in a negative connotation. I love elevator music.
Yeah, fuck
Anytime I
off,
step into an
Sky.
elevator music, I'm like, dude, this is a bop, man. When I was a teacher and they were taking a test, I would just YouTube, on the speakers, elevator music, and everyone's like, "Why are you playing elevator music?" I'm like, "Why do you think it's ideal background noise for your brain? Otherwise, you're going to hear the kid next to you like chewing his
I
gum.
hate it.
Ugh, I hate that. So I'm trying to just fill the airwaves with,
Yeah.
pretty much smooth jazz, I believe.
Yeah.
Elevator music is. Now, I don't think you're listening to smooth jazz. You're probably listening to more like beats or something.
Yeah, I'd say more beats, which there's this category is so strange, but you fall into these little sub categories. I don't even know what kind of music I would technically call it. But it's just artists, yeah, like typically beats with some like instrumentals, varying instrumentals. I do like some kind of down tempo, kind of like somewhat jazz, but it's not really jazz in the traditional sense. Just whatever is going to promote creativity without inhibiting my mind, and something that's not taking away too much from what I'm doing.
What I've been saying for years is I like to listen to music where I know I like the genre and I most likely am going to like the artist, but it's new music and it promotes new ways to move my body, but it's within a genre where I already know I like the BPM, I already know I like the type of synths, and if there are lyrics, it's hopefully not, murderous and everything, because I'm thinking about the people I want to murder or the people who probably want to murder me. So I totally agree. Instrumentals. Two other things is like, one, I'm often always listening to beats that I have written songs for. So I'm trying to like memorize the song as I'm juggling. So it actually splits my focus. Maybe it's a right brain, left brain thing. Who knows? But I find that that's really helpful. If I'm actually trying to like rap it out loud, it's too much. It's overwhelming. But if I'm just like listening to the beat over and over, then I have a pretty good chance of memorizing it. They say in order to memorize things, you want to have like a hand movement that goes with it. So I believe the no beat rhythm or maybe some sort of wall playing cascade helps me memorize my lyrics. I don't have any proof for this. It's just something I've been doing for years.
Interesting.
And I love to double dip. Like when I'm driving, I'm often practicing my music. So same with juggling. And then secondly is I really like to post on the internet like, hey, does anyone have any good music you recommend for flow? And that you can always get a good list of music from that. And especially when it's like an hour-long set, I'll click that and then I'll flow to it and I'll be like, I really want to unlock something so that I can message that person back and be like, really good music recommendation. It helped me learn this. That person is going to feel like a straight up saint, gangster, disciple. Like they're just going to feel so epic that they recommended something that helped someone else. So I'm always trying to like refract that energy I get musically and positively reinforce someone else.
For sure. Yeah, I think that's definitely beneficial. I like that.
Do you want to share any of the artists you listen to, or do you not even like pay attention to that?
Dude, I have no idea. Truthfully, I have no idea. I listen to, again, the style that my Spotify, my computer, intelligent little computer in my pocket tells me that I would like, and I shuffle through that kind of shit. But it's really so many different artists that are pretty much like underground type shit. I'm not really super, this is going to sound like hipster like, and no problem with hipsters. Okay. But like, I just don't like a lot of mainstream shit. I don't really just, there's a disconnect. So a lot of mainstream artists, even in our like fringe type of scene or whatever the fuck you want to call it, like typical music that surrounds flow arts. It's not that I dislike it, but I'm not just like all jazzed about it all the time. It's just not my shit.
Oh, dude,
like,
our bass music's hit or miss. Like I'll be the first to admit where you'll be jamming, and then the next song, it's like, is this like? I always say it sounds like Darth Vader holding his lightsaber while riding a Harley Davidson. It's like, like,
and it can be good, but it's definitely
it can be good. And what I found is like, you ever been to a show or a festival or something, like you hear the music playing and you're like, this is like the worst music. I can't even like, is this a joke? Like, is this a simulation and everyone's seeing if I'll actually dance to this? And then you look up and like a bunch of people are getting down and you're like, is there something wrong with me where I don't know how to enjoy life? But I'm like, no, like there's no rhyme or rhythm to this beat. It's just wacky as hell.
Yeah.
So I think I do subscribe to some basic music theory. Like I need a good rhythm. But
Yeah, can't
I
be
digress.
man.
Yeah, music. It's a fun topic, especially as a musician nowadays. I'm learning more about music theory, and I'm like, oh, this is very regimented and structured. So being able to break structures takes a lot of effort, but it's very satisfying. It's worth the effort. Anyway, yeah, moving on from music, I think we all agree it can be helpful. It can be a hindrance. One must explore new music in a way that's going to be satisfying to them. Let's talk about the time frame of a flow session. I try to warm up for 5 minutes, do some arm stretches. I like to do pull-ups while standing on like an exercise ball. And I'll just kind of like do like wide grip pull-ups super slowly, like rotate my spine a bunch, a bunch of reaches and things like that, because my shoulders are often very sore. And there is a time constraint. I don't think I can go beyond an hour of like juggling practice anymore. My shoulders just get so sore. Like, what's your time frame? Usually, you have a really long practice regimen.
Typically, yeah. So ideally, then this doesn't always happen, of course. There are days where I'm not really trying to be in there that long, but ideally, I want to be in there for like, on average, like 5 hours. That's kind of like what
That's unreal. Like,
Yeah.
like I've heard of people doing this, like Johnny Douglas and Bo putting in 6 to 8 hour days.
Dude, real quick, I don't mean to cut you off, but back in the day when I actually had time, and on the weekends occasionally, this is not just, but I work a full-time job, right? So now it's a little bit different. But back when I was a kid and I had the time, man, I would put in, I'm not even shitting you, I'd put in 12 hours a day easily for
Respect.
3 months. 3 months in a row on summer. Like it was really, and it's not to say I wasn't doing other shit. I was, but I have to be doing things, and it was always something that I could be doing, and always something that was there for me in a lot of ways, as far as an outlet goes. So, but even, going back to the current conversation, even nowadays, I do like my sessions to be upwards of 5 hours. I don't think I accomplish a whole lot within the first 2.
Wow, man, that is like, let's really break this down. So you're shooting for 5. Are you like hitting 5 hour sessions consistently still, or is that just like what you wish?
No,
you
all
had?
the time. No, all the time.
Dude, respect. That's crazy.
All the time, dude. I hit like 7, 8 hours sometimes. If it's on the weekend and I will take a break to eat, I'll hit 8 hours easily. Like,
if you take a break to eat.
yeah, because I have to have a lunch break if I go that long. But I typically not take a whole lot of time. Like let's say I get my ideal 5 hour session, and let's say I hit that, right? Ideally, I only took a few breaks, and then they weren't long.
There you have it, folks. I mean, that's the difference between 99% of people and the top 1% in any given discipline. Couple things. So first, I saw this little stat. It's like if you spend 18 minutes a day working on a skill every day for your whole life, just starting now, right, you'll be better than 95% of people, because most people don't put on average, that 15, 20 minutes a day. So you're putting in far beyond that. Okay, so for warm-ups, I'm usually warmed up in like 10 minutes. It sounds like you have a 2-hour warm-up. Like, tell me about like why that is.
Okay, so it depends. It depends on what my mindset is going in, because this is not like a formula that always works. But I've done a lot of research as far as like the muse. I'm not sure if y'all are familiar with that is, but it's referred to as like the creative entity, right? It's like what the flow state actually is in terms, like before the flow state was a thing. This was referred to as the muse, which is the purest sense of creativity and inspiration and all that stuff, right? So I don't think typically I hit that within the first 2 hours. I think not only do my muscles and my like mind have to warm up to creating different things, but also just really being involved in a way that will get me to that state. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but I just find that I have to warm up physically and mentally. And I think those are both very crucial parts of hitting whatever energy level is creativity, because that's like the ultimate goal. But we don't always hit that. Not every session I have do I hit that mindset or that state it's fairly hit and miss. And the thing is if you really do research on it, that's a fairly common thing.
Mhm.
It's a fairly common thing with writers, with anybody who's trying to create. You just have to show up and keep putting in the work, and eventually it'll come. But it's not a guaranteed like I do X, Y, and Z, and then that'll give me this result. That's not how it works.
Man, of all people, like Joey's caption like really hit me right square in the chest when he's like, the no beat cascade. I feel like some days I go back in and I had 10 throws yesterday, or 10 catches, I should say, yesterday, and then I can only get 5 today. Or he said something to that degree. And I was like, dude, like this needs to be shared more, because I meet a lot of people who give up, and I was someone who obviously considered giving up with the no beat cascade because it's so simple in its it is not a very complex pattern, but it is difficult. And as a result, I was like, let's do an experiment. Let's just see what it takes to learn this pattern. And so whenever I see a caption of somebody sharing that 2 steps forward, 1 step, I think it would actually be 1 step forward, 2 steps backward emotionally. Usually it's 2 steps forward, 1 step backward. But for like poi juggling, it's the flip. Because dude, with Seb's mess, remember I texted you like 3 months ago that I got a PR? Yeah. And then it had been like 3 months of trying every day before I got another PR. That is unheard of in like track and cross country. Usually your PRs kind of follow like bing, bang, boom. You get a bunch of them in a row. Long jump, high jump. You typically hit a nice stride there, pun intended. But with poi juggling, I'm like, dude, I was not able to get past about, I want to say 12 catches, maybe 15 catches for 6 months. And then I got to 20, sloppy as hell, but I got there, and I was stuck at 20 for another, honestly, 3 months. And this is what the data that I'm looking for is average number of catches per session. My average number is going up, but my PR, I don't know how this is possible, but my PR is not going up. So I'm like, you know what? It will eventually break through. Like, remember when you first got 100 catches with the no beat cascade?
Yep.
You were like, holy crap, now I've got it. That's how it was with juggling clubs. Getting 100 double flips in a row was a really big success for me. So with Seb's mess, sitting right at about that 10 catch average is just this long plateau. And
yeah, man, it's brutal. It's fucking brutal.
And my shoulders, because obviously you have a crossed shoulder moment. My now it's my front delt. It used to be my freaking lateral delt. It's always something with my dominant shoulder. So I'm like, I don't want to push it. I want to be able to do this every day. But dude, 5 hours is like what I put in a week, and you're doing it in a day. So we have all these differences in our practice sessions. But I think I should really take a page out of your book and go for a longer session to see if it.
Dude, do it. Dude, lock yourself in the room and don't fucking leave until you, like, I'm not saying don't leave until you do this or whatever, but like, just fucking spend some time uninterrupted. I think when I have my best days, I'm not fucking around with my phone. My phone's fucking in the corner, dog. It is not fucking near me. It is not. I don't have any fucking distractions. Nobody.
Wireless headphones are so important to allow that.
Nobody fucking with me. I'm completely focused. I don't take a lot of breaks, and it's I just don't need to. Like, I don't know. I just don't really need to take a lot of breaks. I think when I take breaks, sometimes it can be good, but only if it's for a few minutes. If it's for longer than that, it fucks me up. I have to like warm up. Like, it's weird. I don't.
God, that sounds terrible.
Yeah.
So that was actually topic number 4, which is other activities between drilling. I have lift, stretch, scroll, etc. So for lifting, like, because I want to get my chest bigger. I used to be 15 pounds more of muscle. Lost it all when I moved out here. And so I'm like, okay, I kind of want to get some of that back. For just aesthetic reasons. And I'm finding that, like, I actually really like lifting between sets. Like, mentally, it feels, I'm like, okay, it's a nice break. But dude, once my arms are tired, I can barely get the poi high enough in the air. Like, I'm just barely juggling. It's like inches above my waist. And I'm like, God dang it. Like, I traded my strength for the thing I really care about, which is juggling, for this aesthetic reason. And I'm really torn, because I kind of still feel like I need both. Maybe I'm feeling inadequate, not like masculine enough or not strong looking enough. And I want to have a certain aesthetic. And I think I might need to just give it up, because it's really robbing me.
Dude, okay, all right. I'm not trying to tell you how to live your life. Like that's not. We're completely different individuals. But I would say that you have to separate the activities. I mean, you can't. I don't see it being beneficial to either to lifting or to poi juggling to be doing them simultaneously. I think it affects them both negatively. So like for y'all that don't know, I used to be very into like bodybuilding and powerlifting, and I was a very strong and large lad for a number of years in my life. I was in the military, whatever. So, but anyways, I do know a lot about lifting as well, and the number of breaks and the time frame of breaks in between sets is actually crucial to the development of your muscles. So I will say that, and then also on the flip side to poi juggling, I don't think it's beneficial to be. Because once you start getting in the rhythm, that's when you really want to stay in the fucking rhythm and continue. And that is where you make your progress. You don't make, I don't think you make your progress in the first hour. I think 2 hours is a little bit more, more generous for myself personally. But in the first hour, you're not making any progress.
Man, that is this is blowing my mind because you learn patterns, I think, way faster than I do. And it's not faster in terms of minutes. It's faster in terms of days, right? Remember when Drew Overbay told you it's not about years you've been spending, it's about hours you've put in.
Yeah.
And I think I'm coming across this concept, which is that your longer sessions allow you to progress faster, like per day or week, where my shorter sessions, I'm putting in the same number of days, but progressing less. And I'm gonna have to really ponder on that. It's just that I like going to the gym at night, and I start to get tired. And the average biological prime time, right, is your circadian rhythm goes up and down throughout the day, just like it does at night. You have REM at the top when you dream, then you go into deep sleep, which is where you do your healing processes. Then you have REM again, and it's typically 45 minutes up, 45 minutes down. That same circadian rhythm is throughout the day. So I'll have tired moments. This has been well documented between the hours of 2 and 4 p.m. Most office workers are super tired. It's 8 hours after you wake up. You're just, on average, the human body needs a break. Spanish people take siestas. There's a huge drop in productivity between 2 and 4 p.m. in offices because it's after lunch, especially if you had a big lunch. And then that last hour right before you leave work, you're like, okay, I better kick it into high gear because I want to finish this up before the day. That is because of our biological prime times. And I feel like 90 minutes is my sweet spot. If I can get there and ride that crest and juggle during that time, on my way down, that's when I start lifting because it's an easy, mindless task compared to juggling, which is very heady. But dude, you've got me rethinking this whole thing. Maybe you biohacked and you're just plateauing at the prime time. Do you sleep in a fucking cryo chamber or something?
Bro, I do not sleep enough. I do not fucking sleep enough.
This blows my mind.
I sleep, I'm not even shitting you, average 6 hours. Now that's 6 hours for me being laying down to the time where my alarm is going off.
I know you've been getting up early lately. Respect.
It's fucked, bro.
So that being said, 6 to 8 hours is what's recommended. Not everyone needs 8 hours. It's typically 3 REM cycles, which is 90 minutes times 3, which would be 270 minutes. What is that? That doesn't even make sense. I'm messing up my math here, but basically, most people actually sleep a lot, too much. 6 to 8 hours. So that's like someone telling you need to eat 2,000 calories in a day or whatever. It's that's the average. So you're obviously at the low end of the average. You're in good shape. You're mentally strong. Your reflexes are crazy good. Those are all the things that tend to suffer if you don't get enough sleep. So are you dreaming every night?
Oh yeah, dude. Every fucking night. Even if I smoke before I go to sleep, which is pretty rare, I will say. But
dude,
even if I do, dude, I don't. I don't, dude.
That's wild. I struggle to dream if I consume cannabis.
Yeah. Well, same. That's how it works.
What the heck?
Yeah, that's how it works. But I'm so tired all the time that it just doesn't matter. Even when I smoke, I fucking dream every time. I remember very specifics on even the dreams that I have pretty much every night, even last night.
Man, well, we could talk about that in another day, but because I'll nerd out on sleep super hard.
Yeah.
I think what's really important is the time frame and the environment. So to recap what I've learned so far is the 2 hour warm up is dude, this is a tough pill for us all. I'm in pain realizing that if I want to progress, I might have to warm up for an hour. You know who warm up for about an hour are aerialists. I watched this aerialist who is very strong, very flexible, just one of the most beautiful humans I've ever seen in the Dante's green room. And he warmed up for an hour doing like all these crazy calisthenics. I'm like, aren't you going to be tired when you do your act? And he just smiled. He's like, nope. And then I saw his act and I was like, oh, that was like 1,000 times more difficult than any planks he was doing down here. Mm-hmm. So I think I really have to restructure my warm up. I might start running again. I got a jacked up foot right now. So I think usually biking is involved. I need to be more intentional about my warm up. That's what I'm really learning. So what are some of the ways that you warm up?
Well, warm up for me starts with two poi. I don't unless I'm just have a set goal of like, I'm fucking juggling for this amount of hours, which it does happen quite frequently. I won't lie, but on a typical day, if I'm in search for creativity and not for progress on specific patterns, the warm up for me will be playing with my contact rolls. It'll be playing with tosses, really just not working on anything in specific, just getting my actual body loose and getting my mind tuned up to be in the creative sense. But I do that for, again, like typically an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours. That's pretty standard. And then if I want to do some drilling, like some heavy drilling on patterns that I really want to get better at, I'll do that sporadically in between just trying to do different things and put my mind in a different place that might spark a certain move or a certain move, like a pattern that I will create something new out of.
Interesting. So it sounds like you mentioned creativity, I think like twice there. Man, because juggling's like not the most creative thing when you're drilling it. Like Seb's mess, it is what it is. Yes, you can be creative in your approach to learning that, but it's not like well, a lot of your posts obviously are very creative 3-point spinner, super inventive, and you do things no one else is doing. But with the juggling patterns that I'm trying to learn, it's not very creative. Maybe that's something I'm lacking, is that I'm not tapping into creativity because
it's everything. Creativity is like my main source of. I don't know. It's my main source of being an artist. Is creativity.
It is fascinating. For me, it's creativity is actually not as much anymore. It's more like I would say aesthetics and consistency, and yeah, I would say aesthetics and consistency more so than creativity. I'm very proud of my creativity. Like with switchbacks, I personally believe I've done a lot of stuff with 3-point switchbacks that, especially towards the native side, rather than always going non-native, which is what like everyone does towards the center line. Only like Fractal Flows, I forget that guy's name. He's the only other guy I see like playing with it in that framework. Mm-hmm. I'm proud of that, and now I'm like, now I want to get my stuff consistent. So maybe I need to get back into a more creative space. Maybe I need to like go in. I juggle in an all white room. It's not very creative. You're in a room with all these colors, and it's definitely a creative venue.
I don't like colors. I like fucking black, dude. I like black, everything. Black it out. I don't want to see anything else. I don't want it. Again, like, this is kind of funny, but like, I don't like the distractions. I don't like my music to be too distracting. I don't like my surroundings to be too distracting. I want everything to be like set up and have all the other shit out of my mind. So, yeah, I don't know. And creativity, you should do some research on the muse, right? And I don't subscribe to everything associated with that, but I think there's a lot that we can learn about the source of creativity and who we are as far as creators and what we can unlock in our own brains, that we don't have to be taking resources from everybody else. I mean, sure, of course that's going to be a part of the game, you want to take tools from other people, but what do you want to do with those tools? You want to apply them in a way that makes like yourself expressive in the way that you want to be doing things. That's it for me, for sure.
Yeah, I'm thinking of your 2-poi one-hand trichetras while the 1-poi is doing something unique, like a contact roll or no beat. Or for me, it's usually just doing the exact same thing as the other hand. How do you keep your shoulder intact after all those physically demanding patterns with 2-poi one hand? Because I've got about 10 attempts at what you do before I'm like, dude, this is hurting my shoulder. And I believe my form is good.
For multiple reasons. Okay, this is kind of a subject that I have a lot to say about as far as like shoulders go, because even prior to me getting into the military, I had shoulder issues primarily because of number one, I'm a poi spinner. Number two, because of the way I fall asleep. I always fall asleep with like a pillow right here. So my shoulders like up like this, or it's like all fucked up and weird in some weird ass position. Yeah, it's fucked up, man. My sleeping schedule and the position that I sleep is really harmful for me long term. But I have to do stretches and I have to try to overcome it. I mean, literally this last weekend on Saturday, I was going to have a long session, or maybe it was this week. It was during the week. I was going to have a long session, but my shoulder literally prevented me from doing that. And it was a day that it does happen once in a blue moon that I got to take a rest day and I got to try to stretch and sleep correctly. But I worry about shoulder replacement or whatever long term. I worry about my ability to be able to do it, past 40 plus because of these reasons. So shoulder. Yeah, I know. But I know. But it's just, I've had shoulder issues forever, for my whole life. I've always had, specifically my right shoulder.
This blows my mind because you use your right shoulder for your 2.1 or your right hand. That's wild. So are you just dealing with pain all the time, or?
Sometimes, I'd say like 30-40% of the time.
Mine's mild, but like, when we're playing Smash, like sometimes even just sitting there holding the controller, I'm like, my shoulder's bugging me. And I'm like, I need to take some rest days, do some cold water dips.
Even when I was a lifter, I was like a power lifter and bodybuilder or whatever. I'm fucking like not attending shows or whatever, obviously. But I was trying to put on fucking weight, man, and I did. And I was like over 200 pounds for like a year of my life, right? So, and I'm a very slim dude, guys. So, by the way,
this man's an endo, endomorph, right?
Yeah, so I was eating and lifting as basically everything else outside of work, because I lived on a boat in the middle of the ocean, so it was all I did aside from work. But anyways, I'm getting off topic. But I've always had shoulder issues, and it's been something that I really need to be more critical with myself about, as far as health and stretching and making sure that my joints are okay. But
I like to hang from chin-up bars. I like planks. I do just a lot of arm circles. I think biking might be hurting my shoulder because I'm constantly like kind of leaning into that there. I've been trying to do like all these different modified push-ups to build my like front pec, where that'll be stronger than. Well, here's my problem, right? Is I work too hard on the front, right? Because the front is what people see. It's aesthetic. And then my chest gets all pulled forward, and I need to do more pulling exercises. I believe it would balance me out. Do you think that there's anything you do repetitively that makes your body like asymmetrical, so that like your own muscle fibers are working against you?
I don't necessarily know. I think I've put in a lot of work to be like symmetrical in a sense, like throughout my years of training and whatever. So I kind of feel like I'm just at a point of maintaining and not necessarily progressing or whatever. Like I don't really do. I could exercise a lot more. But right now it's really just maintaining. Again, I don't mean to be repetitive, but I'm just trying to kind of remain in a state where I'm like healthy and able to do the patterns that I want. But as far as like endurance, I think I've always had really good endurance, like muscular endurance and whatnot. Again, I've spun poi for more than half my life, so it doesn't really fatigue me in a lot of ways. I think that starting so early in life and developing as a human being while you are spinning poi, literally throughout my entire like from 10 to 25, like, so it's been a part of my integral part of my core being, so I don't know. It just doesn't make me as tired as it does a lot of people.
Man, to jump around a bit, like one of the changes I want to see in the flow arts community is that we start teaching it in schools more. There are programs out there doing it, and I started my own. I've worked for Motion Magic, and there are schools, typically private schools, that are open to it. Imagine like if somebody started from a really young age. By the time they hit 15, they're running no beat cascade like it's nothing. It is funny, but like they're so short, their center of gravity so low.
I know.
Pick up a poi they dropped is a lot less effort than like my buddy who's 6'4" picking up his poi. I'm like, you can use your foot to do that. It blew his mind.
Well, and they're so much more flexible too. That's the thing. They're malleable.
Rubber. So yeah, that's a good point, man. You're putting good numbers out there. We basically determined that shoulder health would be a proactive endeavor. Just get it. Like shoulders,
100%, dude.
not to go down in like a rabbit hole too much, but like men use our arms a lot. And I feel like a lot of the aesthetics and the function of a man comes from his ability to use his shoulder in some way. So if you damage your shoulder, dude, you're really, really damaging yourself. Because it's hard to build your chest without a shoulder. It's hard to juggle. It's hard to do just about anything. Because everything we do involves our hands.
Climbing,
hinge point, climbing, running, even. Yeah. So I'm learning that. I'm absolutely terrified of injuring my shoulder anymore.
Me too, dude. I think about it so much, bro.
So you're going to be interviewing Socrates soon, right?
Yes.
Nobi Flows, bro. Dude, his shoulder recovery journey is mind-boggling. And I'll tell you why. He does the cap that, like, I don't know if you can see both my arms, but he does the cap where both arms go behind you.
Like, I hate it, dude.
I've only seen him and like Voitod, maybe a handful of others do it. They're typically very skinny, I call them lubricated people because their shoulders got to be.
I'm not that flexible, man.
Dude, and he did that after like he broke, he broke it like this bone. Like it compound fractured at a concert.
Jesus Christ.
It's a crazy story. I think he showed me the x-ray or something. And I was like,
I did not think it was that bad. Holy shit.
Dude, he's pretty strong. Like he's got a good looking physique. And I'm like,
totally. Yeah.
Your recovery, I think he may have some titanium in there, but whatever his recovery journey is needs to be, some elements of it should be replicated for all of us, whether it was physical therapy that he did or cold water dips or taking fish oil, who knows what it was. But that man's going to have some good knowledge to drop.
Shout out to Socrates, man.
Yeah, he's one of my biggest inspirations.
He's fucking unreal, dude.
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
Well, like his videos lately, like they don't represent everything he can do.
Dude,
like, he's barely showing like 1% of his skill. He has so many saucy combos and tosses that he can do. When you meet him at a festival or at an event, he's like, it's mind-boggling.
I will be straight up. This is no hate towards Socrates at all. Okay, he's a fucking incredible artist. When I first was like seeing videos of him and we were on the team and stuff, I'm like, dude, he's dope. Like he's sick. He's an awesome artist, right? But actually seeing him perform, man, like the levels of respect that he gained it for me, multiple levels, like way up there, dude.
He goes for this double toss, like right off the bat. Like he lights his poi and then he does a double toss where it's a swap and they both do like I guess it would be an in spin in the air, and then he catches him out and then just. I'm like, dude, while there's that much fuel on them, you know how fast those knobs are moving? Like,
and it's not to say his technical skill is not amazing, because it is, but what really strikes me about the way that he does performances, and this is like very like overplayed and people say this a lot, but I truly mean that his performance level is it's so much different. It really is. The energy that he brings in person is fucking unbelievable, man.
Yeah, he stares at your eyes. He's got like a really intense, he doesn't break character. He moves his body like an animal. That's something neither you or I really do at our performances. So we're both kind of like, like, I'm glad you're doing it because I'm afraid to do it.
Bro, I suck at dancing. I'm just not on that level, bro. Like, I'm just not on that level of like body presence, right? Because I let my poi do the talking for me. I want my poi to be the focus, not necessarily like my body. And I try to have good posture and like do things like with a certain level of like professionalism, but it's never like, he just has a dancing background. I mean, the man fucking kills it. Let's be honest, dude. Like, he's just built different. Like, quite literally, he's got so fucking dope, dude.
And not to mention, he's like hilarious. Like I was watching him and Xander just like ham it up when we were at I want to say it was the Portland Juggling Festival in like 2019 or something. Dude, like absolute just cracking jokes. I'm like, man, I'm so glad to be on a team with this guy. Okay, so shoulders. We could talk about that all day, but I don't know if you noticed Tucker's grandpa in the background.
Oh, wow.
That's his grandpa. So I know you met my dog. That's his BFF right there.
So
we kind of already touched on red light anxiety, recording anxiety, which is the final topic. I kind of wanted to spend maybe 5 minutes before I let you go here is to
Yeah,
talk
yeah.
about planning a new act for Southwest Flow Festival using the practice strategies we just discussed, and maybe like you expressed to me perhaps 3 months ago, like things you could add that aren't just new poi juggling tactics. Like, what are some new elements you want to bring in, and how are you going to practice them?
Well, I think I struggle with this quite a bit. I think it's my biggest hurdle that I have to overcome as far as a performer. And I don't want to just have it be an overplayed, like emotional, like me pondering what the fuck I'm doing and me like being dissatisfied, but that's very much integral to who I am as an artist, is being unsatisfied. So I do want to be able to convey that through the performance, but also having a sense of like being, proud of myself. So, and show off the patterns that I'm very fucking happy that I have accomplished and, that or created or whatever. So, I think a performance that I really want to do is something that pays homage to my mindset and the struggles that I have with poi and this whole journey. It's not just all been fucking roses and flowers and I'm so good. It's been my whole life thinking or feeling like I could do something better, and like, of course, being satisfied with some of the things that I do, but really just that never-ending pursuit of being better. So I want to figure out a way to convey that through my body language without it feeling like it's just fucking cringe. I mean, I don't know. Let's be honest. Like,
Yeah, there's that element. You and I both know that.
Yeah.
I lean into certain elements of absolute cringe. Like, that act was so ham.
Yeah.
I hope you still have that hat, by the way. That is like one of my favorite. I love that hat. It's too like big, but it's a hilarious hat to collect tips in because it holds a lot of dollars.
I'll bring it for Southwest Full Fest 2023, bro.
And then you should put it on my head as part of your act. Take your hat back, bastard.
I probably wouldn't actually. I say that, but I'm probably not down because that's just more time wasted. For me, the way that I don't, how I am, bro. I feel fucking 5.5 or 6, or preferably this performance will be 7.5 minutes, because 5.5 was just such a small amount of time. When I first started putting the choreography together, I'm like, damn, I got 5.5 minutes. Like, that's so much time. But now, or when I get to the end of choreographing, I'm like, fuck, dude, I didn't put in this. I didn't put in any of my signature stuff. I didn't put it, like, what am I fucking doing? I got to rewrite the whole thing. So I think 7.5 or 8 minutes would be a line where I'm doing the things that I really want to show. I think,
I'm so glad to hear that, because a lot of flow artists, I think particularly with Repoi, they've got about 3 minutes, and I was there for a while. I'm sitting at like, I'm comfortable with 7 right now. I feel, and I include 2 poi in it. I like how you went 2 poi, 3 poi, 4 poi, 3 poi, 2 poi. I think that's how it went.
And it went 1, 2, 3, 2, 4, 2.
That's amazing. So I usually just go like 2, 3, 3. Where I go from Blaze Comets to my Monkey Fists to my Snakes.
1 poi, dog. Where's the 1 poi at?
There is a 1 poi section. It's like,
okay,
maybe 30 seconds.
All right. Well, that's fine.
Okay, so for my new act, I've got a new song written. I always try to do 2 songs for festivals. One of them, it is just absolutely like ridiculous. It's as ridiculous as Sideshow, if you remember that one.
Oh yeah.
A lot more like oh man, I'm not going to give away.
Are you going to call me out in this one or no?
I have to. I think that's part of the shtick now. And so I was going to talk about like voiceovers. You used an RJD2 song, which is like classic. Would you ever use like cringy voiceovers to give yourself some room to breathe and like just use audio attention instead of all visual?
No cringe. We avoid cringe at all costs. I'm a very by the books kind of guy. I don't know, but I would like to do some kind of voiceovers, because I think not necessarily like I want to have somebody record this voiceover for me, but I want to find like clips that try to relay how I'm feeling aside from my body language, because like, yeah, all nonverbal or like most communication is like nonverbal, but at the same time, it's like, it's hard to convey, damn, I fucking suck. What am I doing with this prop?
just only purely physical for me. And it's
Yeah, dude. I think I got like the perfect like Andrew Tate soundbite for you to use. I'm
You're
kidding.
funny as fuck.
That would be. It would just no one would applaud at the end. They're like, okay,
Who the fuck is this guy?
Gary V or something. Oh man.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh god. All right. So avoiding cringe. I like when I look in a mirror, I see a ridiculous clown. Like I've written a song about this. It's called "The Clown in the Mirror." How's it go? It's the clown in the mirror is looking back at you or something. And so the music video is just like someone who looks into a mirror and they just always see a clown. And I'm like, I have to own that a little bit because I'm just so baked most of the time that I can't help but like laugh at things that aren't funny and make jokes out of stuff. Maybe that's my personality, no matter
I
what.
respect that.
And so with music, I'm trying to take people on a journey, which is like anticipation, the build up, a cheap laugh, a cool trick, and then like a fake build up to just end in a laugh. Because I think I'm afraid of fully committing and then not catching. Like it's hard, man. If I whiff, I would be like, well, I didn't even use the opportunity to make fun of myself.
Dude, being 100% honest, I was fucking devastated after both of my performances at Southwest. And I looking back, like, do I think I did poorly? No, I don't think I did poorly. But like, did I really accomplish the things that I really wanted to accomplish? No, I didn't. So again, it's that perfectionist mindset where I'm just really struggling to be truly happy and satisfied with something that I'm doing. But that just comes with time, and I'll get it. I got plenty of time to try to, correct my mindset as well as try to get better and actually do better. Right. Cause I'll definitely do better, but
you did the absolute like most important thing when I came through Boise and y'all were in the dojo, you were performing for your friends. I mean, that's 99% of the way there. That's exactly.
I take it really seriously, man.
Yes, you did.
Take it really seriously. I always do. I mean, I don't, this is not just a fucking hobby for me. I mean, if you really boil it down and really think about it, I mean, this is a huge percentage of my life that of my time on this earth that I've spent doing this thing. Like, it's not just a fucking, it's not just something that I like do or whatever. It's just bigger than that, more important for me. And, I respect people taking, their own level of seriousness towards what they're doing. I don't say everybody's got to be like, this is your ultimate fucking goal or whatever. Like, it's not that way for everybody. I'm not saying it should be. But for me personally, this is something that's so integral to myself and like my story and what I love. So it's very important to me, man. It just is. I get a lot of anxiety. I get, all in my head, but I think all of this shit combined and the struggles that I have mentally, like, does make me a more precise and more dedicated artist than a lot of people.
You channel that energy really well. Like whenever I talk to you, there will be like your tone will be, you'll have like one moment at the beginning where things are anxious and then it immediately comes back down and translates into put into work.
Yeah.
And that's like one of the things I've learned from you. You're 5 years younger than me, but you're like light years ahead of me in terms of ability to progress with these props, which I'm like, dude, it's like, it's not. And you always say, oh, it's because I started when I was 10. It's like, dude, there's like stuff I started when I was 10 and I'm not as far as you are. So, you know what I'm saying?
But so it aligned with,
it
aligned with what I was doing in my life. It aligned with who I am as a person, as far as like needing an outlet and me being a very like needing something to do all the time. I don't like just sitting down and not doing anything. I can't do it.
Yeah.
I cannot do it.
People are built different, and some people are, my family's always like, he can't be doing nothing. There's a guy from a movie called Mary Poppins who he plays like 7 instruments at once. So he's like hitting the bass drum, playing something with his mouth. He's using his head to like hit a percussion instrument. He's got a violin on his elbow. And my brother's like, yeah, dude, you're like Dick Van Dyke out of Mary Poppins, where you're like doing all these things at once, no matter where you go. It's like, he actually like slays. Like he like plays a beat. I think it's quite dope. But yeah, dude. So your focus and discipline is like, if the average person could pick up, 20% of that and apply it to their own life, they would see massive gains on whatever hobby they're doing. So let's end on the story of that crazy rainstorm that totally jacked up like Joey's et al. Their tent and how
their beer run, primarily their beer run got fucking savagely destroyed, dude. So this is before Marvin Ong's gala, and it's at Southwest Flow Fest, and I'm getting ready. I'm kind of like, there's more people building. There's a larger audience growing. I'm in the giant performers tent, and I'm trying to get myself calm down and warm up and all that stuff, even though I've been warming up all day, right? But yeah, and then the storm keeps getting progressively worse and worse and worse. And shout out to the folks at Southwest Flow Fest. This is no knock on them, but that tent was
Blowing
a few
away.
miles per hour away from fucking killing all of us. Okay, so I'm just gonna throw that out there. It's gonna be more secure next year. I have all the,
desert storms are no joke,
okay?
dude.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. No, not a knock on them, but I'm telling you right now, dog. People were looking around. People were being okay. Should we get the fuck out of here? What's about to happen? What's about to pop off right now? Because this shit is like, I mean, there was just rain being blown up and into the tent, and the windstorm. People were like closing their eyes, being blinded by dirt. Like it was a crazy fucking event, dude. Like, and I look at Marvin, and Marvin is the most unfazed fucking person in the entire tent. Marvin's like, oh, no. He's like, hey, everybody calm down, relax now.
It's just a storm, Dill.
This is not Marvin's first rodeo. And Evan is fucking running around like crazy. It's like one of his events. He's like one of the primary owners of the event and everything. So he's obviously stressed. He's fucking battening down the hatches. We're double ratcheting everything, all the secures on the whole. Because if you guys can't picture what I'm talking about, it's a very large tent. Okay, it's like thousands of pounds. Okay, so this is not no bitch ass tent, right? There's hundreds of people in this tent, and so I was concerned that the gala would not even take place. That I was legitimately concerned that it wouldn't even happen, and so it was very serious. But the wind semi died down. We double hatcheted everything. It ended up being a great gala, great show. But the wind and the rain for like an hour was the craziest shit. And I lived in Alaska, so I know bad storms. Okay, it was for real.
Yeah, and then we so after the gala, we all were just cracking brews and having a good time. It was basically a rave party. That was probably my favorite part of the festival. I kind of liked that we were in that tent. Something about it was more intimate than the fire circle. The fire circle, because the music was so loud in there, it was hard to talk to people. You had to really be close to people. And then the way that the seating was arranged, it was kind of hard to interact. And I just felt really comfortable in that tent. I really liked it. Was right next to this vendor's booth of someone I was trying to talk to. So it just a lot of things aligned. So the weather put the kibosh on the, $100,000 sound system they had set up and that whole stage, and it turned into an LED jam instead of a fire one. But we spun fire the night before. I mean, I'm cool spinning LEDs, man. I'm good spinning both, And so I had an absolute blast of a time in that tent with you guys.
Yeah,
just,
that was so
cracking
fun,
brews,
man.
Talking about the act, skill sharing. Marvin's there.
Well, I couldn't get fucked up all day or all day before that because I'm very if I'm about to perform, that's not a time for me to be fucked up. I need to be super present, right? But after the performance was over, I'm like, beers.
Yeah.
What's up?
And for the record, we each drank 3 or 4 over the course of the night. It wasn't anything crazy.
I don't know. Yeah, probably. You're probably right. I don't drink
because that's what I allotted for each. I brought 12 beers, and I was just handing them out. So I look forward to doing
fun.
What are we? I might have to bring some Modelo's again. That was the perfect rainstorm.
Bro, I guess you got to have the Dellers, but bro, bring me a hearty
Imperial,
beer.
Something that matches that mustache, right?
Some IPA, some hazies or something.
I feel like you'd be really into Bud Light these days.
Oh my god! Don't even get me started. Don't even get me started.
Man. With that note, me busting Patrick's balls for the umpteenth time, even though he's a far better 3-point spinner. I appreciate your time, man. What I learned is
absolutely.
That my entire session is still less than your warm up, and that's why you've got me beat. Hopefully I can run it back in the Super Smash Arena here in a couple hours.
Yeah, bro, fucking catch me. I'm out here. Cool, man. Well, yeah, I appreciate it. I hope you continue to do your endeavors, and I'll definitely we'll schedule you for a podcast on obviously my podcast. So I think it would be really interesting. Sorry, I don't mean to like bring us back into another subject. This will be quick, but I do want you to try to devise some interesting questions for me on my podcast. So if you do want to think about anything that relates to me or whatever, you can think about that. We'll get into it more on the podcast, but you'll be
really want to dig deep into the Diddy Kong like pants theory. Really put in some good work on that. We got about 15 questions lined up for you.
All right, bro. All right, we'll take it easy. Hope y'all enjoyed this episode, whoever's watching.
Peace, man.